get this mounted. There we are. Fantastic. So I have a wonderful little roll tide. Let's get going. I have my layouts all done. I'll show you a quick time lapse of how I do my layouts. Video. Let's do a time lapse replay real quick. I mean, it's just as simple as that, right? What I always start out with, though, is a template that I've downloaded for an 11 by 17 comic page. Now, what that means is that, like, this is where I need to find my bleeds and my trims, so that my printers, when I go to print this, can print it out accurately. On the left-hand side over here, I have my layout, what I've originally drawn, and then I'm going to start getting to draw in here. I can see the chat, but I'm probably not going to be paying too much attention to it. Whatever. Let's get into it. So, like I said, I do all my panel borders first. What I'm working with pencil-wise is going to be, I have a go-to one. I usually use standard 2 grade, 2B, and I soft pencil. And then I just start drawing in over here. So, like, whenever I have these bleeds in here, they kind of mess with my head just a little bit. So I always come in and turn the bleeds off. That's really just for me to make sure that this area right around here has more than enough space. That way, I don't get yelled at by a printer. If you've never been yelled at by a printer, it's never fun. Hi. I can barely see the chat, just so you guys know. Like, my phone is hanging like right in front of my face as I draw. So there you go. And so, like, I never like start with like just going from this top panel to the bottom. I usually start with like what's going to be the biggest pain in the butt to draw, but I'm just going to start with this panel right here because I've never drawn live before on one of this, and I'm just going to let's play around with like one that looks easy. So I draw pretty fast, so if you have questions or need me to slow down, I don't know if I'll slow down per se because it break my whole drawing rhythm, but I draw in shapes for the most part, and I've got to keep this. I've got to keep this to where I still have like the same thing I would do. Oh, that was a nice jump. Right over here, I have to keep that. So what this is for, so this is a 10-page comic that's coming out in anthology. I believe we're going to start kickstarting it in January. It is a story about a young girl who inherits a, the stewardship of this world of arm wrestlers that protect the world. So just a short story, but it might be something me and I'm doing it with Leslie Julian, who's totally awesome. We'll be doing this, and maybe it'll be something more. I don't know. I'm just gonna rock and roll, have some fun with it, and see what he thinks. So that's what it is. So I use a green pencil here for marking everything out. And then I just start like mapping out like what my faces and shapes are going to look like. A lot of times with these background characters, I'll base them off of like people that I know. So a lot of times people are like, oh, is that me? I was like, it is. Also, you get no money for that. So, but here you are. Yeah, comic stuff is absolutely super difficult, but honestly, like, I love doing goofy comics. Like I think comics can tell any story they dang well please, and that's the cool part of it. And I was like, why shouldn't there be more? I was just like, man, we have men in crazy jumpsuits all over the place. And women, and also now finally it's getting a little more inclusive, right? But like the stories just still gravitate around superhero stuff, which I love, but I don't know. I want just a little bit more. One thing I will say too is that I don't usually like refine my drawings all that much. I like to let the inks do all the hard work here. But sometimes I'll be like, man, I haven't figured out like a light source or a background or anything like that. So Sometimes I'll just be like, boop, light's coming from here. A little arrow right there to do that. And this is a referee character, so I gotta make sure I have I've drawn 1,000 polo shirts, so I know exactly what they look like. And I watch a lot of wrestling, I'll just be honest. If you want to get into comics, the best way to do it is if whether you're writing, drawing, or doing both, do something short. Like fold like 5 pieces of paper, in half and make a short story about anything. Doesn't matter what it is, and see if it's something that you really like. Comics are tough. I'll be very frank about that. I love them, but it's a tough industry because it's very gate kept, and it's not super fun that way. Like you really have to dig hard to find a good community. But I will say when I put these out, I'm like, man, when I finish a book, it is the best feeling ever. Hey, thanks for the compliment. Yeah. It's definitely like a more animated style, right? But it's also something that I've really grown into over the years. One of my biggest influences growing up was like the Batman the animated series. So I really wanted to have like that kind of motion and flow. But like I said, yeah, I wouldn't stop anyone from trying to get into comics. It's tough, don't get me wrong, but it's also super rewarding. Nothing will feel well. There are things that will feel better than finishing a comic. Don't get me wrong, but not a lot of things really beat that out. Oh, nice animation. It is. It can be similar to animation, whereas like they're both a lot of hard work. I think with animation, it can be. It's so weird because it's like animation's much more accepting of styles that flow and that have like life and vibrancy. And comics are just starting to get there with that. But storytelling wise, yeah, like there's a lot of crossover. Every time I do a convention, I meet more animators that are doing comics and vice versa. Like I do storyboards for some different companies, and yeah, I would say like branch out as much as you want. Comics are pretty awesome. I remember, was it Ronnie Del Carmen who works for Pixar, does comics as well? Yeah. So there is a lot of crossover, just like with like comic books and wrestling. There's a lot of crossover there as well too, right? Tricky thing about mustaches is making sure you get that person's expression while the mustache is kind of hanging down and over. I think mustaches and eyebrows are my favorite things to draw on the human face because they're the things that can be the most expressive. All right, we're looking good there. And like I said, like the light should be coming from this way here, so I'll start blocking out the places where I'm going to have. And I almost forgot he has like cyborg arms. Yeah, absolutely. As I was like, I'm trying like the thing that's holding my camera is covering up like half the chat. Um, so yeah, like animation. It's funny. Like I loved this from a kid, but like growing up, I was just like, it wasn't until I found like Japanese animation, of course, that I really like got back into it, right? And that's where I was just like, yo, this is where it gets like there's some darker styles. And comics has definitely had the I think the monopoly on like dark and gritty stuff that's like in the pop culture lexicon that's not like live action, right? Um, but I think comics can definitely help you find your way there into that if I'm reading that correctly. feel like I should have the like another my MacBook over here too, so I can read comments easier. All right, that's like one panel that's like starting to solidly find its feet. And some people will do like, they'll copy this and paste it on here and kind of just trace over their layouts. I don't really, that's not really my groove. Honestly, I really want to make sure I'm getting the full energy of a panel, even from my layouts. I'm like, yeah, like sometimes I'll change them up in the middle of a story if it feels like I'm starting to like drift away from the actual specificity of that panel for that page. Um, Nice, one down. All right, and like so, like comics, they take a long time. But I'll tell you what, like this layout process is the longest, not the drawing process. Oh, thanks, Dan. It's nice to have people here that I know that support me as well too. I did this live on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, and like, man, I had a good crew hanging out with me, watching and drawing. I just found that it was really tough. I have the Osmo here, and that thing is a great like steady cam. However, I needed something overhead, so I just got this wiry thing. I can also turn on like a light to make it brighter over here too. But like I'm drawing on iPad, there's no real difference, no real change. So I won't be using that. Try and keep this steady. Sorry for y'all. But yeah, there is a whole lot of time and play, and then I got to figure out with my schedule. Like, man, when do I get to go live with this? Right? Like how often am I gonna be able to do this? And I love doing it. Like doing this on some of this on TikTok as well. You can't go live unless you have like 300 million followers or something like that. So I was like, well, I guess TikTok's out, but Instagram and Twitch, they're always here. Thank you so much. It's because I drank 5 Monster Energies earlier today, and I am feeling ready to rock and roll. No, I live in Denver, and it's a murky day, and man, I always get super amped up when it's like it could even have the possibility of raining. That's where I feel my best energy. So I'm glad it's coming across, and that y'all are enjoying my cadence here. And hopefully, I don't run out of things to say. I think one of the things that kind of drives me nuts, but it's also fun with comics, is that like you have to make the angles so dynamic. It can't be like a TV show where like I love like stuff like watching like Scrubs or Sopranos, and there's like just one camera, and it's not too often that they like challenge that view. But like if you read a comic and you're doing it just straightforward, man, it can get a little, I won't say boring, but it can get a little static. And I think this is a little too high up, so I'm going to select them and just move them on down here. Nice. I switched to the iPad, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Um, oh, so much faster for me. Huh. Yeah, that's so funny because like that's what our guy at work like. Just spoilers. Dan used to work with me. Our friend Tony, um, he has a Twitch channel. He's like, dude, you got to do this, man. Like, there's so many artists like making bank on Twitch, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'll try it out. And so here we are. Oh man, yeah, UK, huh? Do you do like Thought Bubble? I've heard is a pretty awesome show. I have some friends from Ireland that are comic artists, and yeah, I mean they have had a heck of a time because they had to come over to the United States. But yeah, yeah. Hmm. That's too bad. That really sucks. I mean, it's I living in Colorado, where I'm kind of what you call it. We have a very progressive, well, mostly a progressive city, I should say. I'm sure it's not easy, but anywhere, you know what I mean. But the last couple of years with the guy in charge that we had um, was not any easier for our friends in the LGBTQ community, or with anything like mental health wise. I feel like too, um, or just I don't know. If you just weren't trying to live as a straight white person, it was extremely difficult here over the last maybe probably you know entirety of the existence of America. But trying to be out and go outgoing and be out has been extremely difficult in this country. Yeah, yeah. Being accepting is the only way to go. That's been my philosophy. I was just like, dude, like, no one's getting hurt by any of this. And, I have friends that are of so many different walks of life. I've changed that eraser up. Um, and who have definitely different lifestyles, different philosophies. And I found my life so much better by listening and accepting. Be honest with you, and even like, yeah, when I went to when I was in art school, is really when like I was able to start expressing who I was. Um, and I'm a straight guy, but at the same time, an artist. Like, and like growing up in Texas and some part in Georgia, man, like if you're an artist and you're not playing football, you're getting beat up and called any kind of like emasculating slur that they can think of down there. So I definitely understand that, friend. Wow, sorry. Harassment of any form is awful, and there's nothing wrong with being queer, by any means. But if it's not you and you're just trying to be an artist, that's tough. I'm sorry. I know the feeling. Dead eyes right here. Look at that. Like, got to cut him right in half. Dan, how's the East Coast treating you, buddy? Wow, they really went all out, huh? Oof. Tough part is like when you make like this is the first time I've actually drawn this character. I designed them out in earlier, but like when you start drawing them in a comic consistently, man, it can get tough. Um, because you have to be consistent through every panel. Ah, yes, these are changing here as well too. Like we just like stopped having stupid hot days over the last few weeks, and I'm like, man, thank heavens, I'm done with this. I'm done with any kind of heat. Get our two main characters in here. If you hear growling and thrashing, I have two cats right next to me going crazy. Almost time for dinner. Ew, humidity. It's kind of funny, like drawing something like this is that like there's no dialogue in this scene, but I hate it when people draw comics where like they're talking but still like nobody's mouths are like moving or open. That's a weird like creative bump that I come into. But we all have our weird things, right? And so like with this one here, like I just had the two of them together, but I think I'm gonna have her having her arm held and being walked away just simply because it's like let's get out of here. Let's not stay around this idiot too long. More of a chauffeur kind of thing from the old referee here. And I might change these guys around, make them a little smaller. Boop. Yeah, there. Put them right over here. I didn't plan this out with perspective, so it made it a little bit tougher. Yeah, that's the one nice thing here. We don't have humidity. We just have 3 million days of stupid sunshine. You kind of mummify out here. This guy's supposed to be like a hipster version of Mayor Hagar from what's the Streets of Rage, I think. He's got two like super bionic arms. They're pretty awesome. But I think I have to draw them with some steam coming out of them because they just broke in the story. Or she just broke them, I should say. Excuse me. All right, been doing this for a little bit. Nice. Thanks again for y'all for like sticking with me as I'm like not kind of trying to get some of this drawing done and not really looking at the chat right quick. I'll jump in again in a moment. I think he's supposed to have a tank top on. That's the nice part about being a comic artist too, is like, your writers will give you like little like, hey, they should be wearing this, and then you can just be like, yeah, but did I feel like drawing that? And they're mostly like, okay. Unless it's like a really sticking part of the story, you can kind of imagine things how you want them to be. And that's a big sticking part, I think, of being a cartoonist, is like some writers really want them to be like, really want you to be following exactly what their script says, and it's like, yeah, but like you want me to draw 4 million things in here and I have wrists that hurt, so I'm gonna interpret this how I want to. Plus, like, I don't know, as an artist I was like, dude, I don't want to do my own thing. I'll be honest with you, like I don't think like George Lucas had a very specific monster look in mind when he thought of the Rancor. He's like, hey, Ralph McQuarrie, make this Rancor. We've been doing 3 movies. We've been done 2 movies. Let's make this big monster and like let's let your vision flow for it, right? Oh man. I'm jealous of that rain. We get no rain. It's probably going to go right to winter. I mean, you remember Colorado. All right, our boy's being taken off. He's dunzos. I got to draw some bounces. Thankfully, I just finished another binge of The Sopranos. And I was like, oh, okay, I gotta have some ideas for big burly dudes in my head as bouncers, but they're going to be in the shadow. But like, I want them to be like those big honking meat hooks that Tony Soprano had. Just be huge, but they're mostly going to be in the shadows here because I want him to be the focus. But those big long jackets, right? So sometimes I'll fill in all the blacks over here like I'm doing right now. Like I haven't drawn his hands yet, so I'm going to avoid that. Sometimes I'll just make a line and put like some X's right there just to indicate, hey, it's going to be black right in this area. Just make an outline. A lot of times I don't even bother for myself. I'll be straight up honest with y'all. If it's someone else is going to ink me, like slap inks over my pencils, which doesn't usually happen. I'm pretty protective of that. Then I'll make those indicators. But yeah, I really haven't done a lot of collaboration with other artists where like they ink my stuff. Usually it's me the other way around. I'm kind of the guy that's called in to be like, hey, can you color this? Our guy's out. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. I can color this. And like I said, I like all the detail to come out in the inks. But if I don't draw the hands, boy, howdy, I'm in trouble. Hands are some of the things that are very difficult to draw as far as comics go. So I kind of just make a gesture of what they'll look like. But I always get like, when drawing a hand, I get like this part way too big than the fingers. Like they should be like, here to here should be the same size. And you might see one of my cats in a second because he is being precocious and curious. Yep, there he is. Hey, buddy. This is how my therapy goes too. I do virtual, and the cat's always there in the way, knocking it with his big butt. Right, dude? It's gonna make sure he doesn't knock my water. Anyways, hands, right? So find the right proportion of hands. Plus, he also just knocked off my color palette. You might hear something crash. Don't worry. So yeah, I do like a little smaller gesture for the hands. Hello. So I want the hands to be as natural and animated. Oh, his name is Cacciatore. I have two cats, Meatballs and Cacciatore. I've named them both after Italian food. Cacciatore actually means hunter as well, too. So we just hope, like, if we ever have a mouse problem, he'll take care of it. But they're great companions. Cacciatore is just under a year old now, and I adopted him in May, I want to say. And Meatballs I've had for about 3 years now. So good couple of kitties, good companions, especially for a cartoonist who, instead of partying all the time, is hanging out here in his apartment drawing comics and illustration. It's funny. I was like, I was working on some Inktober stuff. I did Jack Kirby, Jacktober for a whole 3 or 4 pieces because I got too busy. But then I put up. I've been doing all these GI Joe pieces over on my Instagram that I actually drew like at the tail end of last year because I kind of got hooked on drawing GI Joes for a hot minute, which is super fun. One of my favorite toy lines of my childhood. Yeah. So those are out there in case you're curious. Want to see more of my artwork? It's Zach Kinsella, and I'll put that link in my bio. Nice, looking good, huh? Cacciatore. I know he's he's a little troublemaker. I'll be honest. I love him to death, but he can be a little madman. I just had to rethread the stupid the string through my hoodie because he pulled the entire thing out. So I had to go sacrifice a what you call it? I had to go sacrifice a coat hanger so that I could have my stupid hoodie work again. But yeah, yeah, Instagram, Zach ZAK. Last name is Kinsella, Kinsella. Yeah, I've been doing GI Joe this month, but also I just did a wrestling piece. I do a lot of wrestling pieces. I have a, I actually have a wrestling, what do you call them? Little freelance project coming up here pretty soon with a guy named Effie, EFFY. Yeah, so you'll see a lot of wrestling on that one. It goes along with like that, and I also have an Instagram for my toy channel because my hobby is action figures. All right, man, this is coming out looking pretty cool. Feeling good about this Monday night. Who would have thought, right? Yeah. Yes, thank you, Dan. All right. I got to remember who I have next. I think this is the Ice Lady. Yeah. Ice Lady and a big Samoan boy called Massive Arms. And the nice thing about this one is that there hasn't been a whole heck of a lot of dialogue. It's the toughest thing though is going to be like getting people's hands in arm wrestling poses in the right way. So like I've been looking up a lot of reference to that, and also like I just drew this hand so big that like this person's face is going to be completely covered, but that's okay. Arm wrestling is insanely difficult to draw. I'm just going to be very honest. When Leslie pitched this to me, I was like, damn, that sounds cool. Okay, yeah, I'm totally down. And then I was like, you have to show like hands like doing this all the time, and this is it's fun. It's just funny. I was like, this has been such a pain in the butt to draw, but screw it. That's what comics are about, and art. I was like, you know what? If I wasn't challenging myself, I think I'd be pretty annoyed with it. It's tough because like he wanted this Massive Arms to kind of be like Andre the Giant back in the day, where like, he like, yeah, I got GI Joe right here. Like holding this is like holding a beer can to Andre the Giant, right? Just ridiculous. So then I was like, you know what? I have some really good Samoan friends that I was just like, let's put these cats in there, and I just didn't want to keep drawing the same 4 or 5 dudes. Plus, they have a lot of them have really cool tattoos. If you take a look at like The Rock or like Roman Reigns, you'll start seeing like, man, they've got these wild body tattoos, and it's like, yo, that's pretty awesome. And again, we're here with our arms. I might move this over. Because I want to get more of his head, this guy's head in. Plus, it's really tough to like, man, like drawing the arm wrestling from back and forth is it's a real pain in the butt, but also a pleasure. It's just like, this is cool, but like you got to think about like, man, this guy's going to use his right arm. This guy's going to use his right. Is this person left arm? Like, what am I going to do with this story? Yeah, exactly. I would have another panel. Like, I do have like more good couple of panels, right? I even did one as an inset, which is like a panel within a panel, basically. Um, But yeah, I just wanted to move him over just by a frog's hair, and I totally messed this up because that would move everything over. Oh my gosh, can you not? Okay. Start fresh, move them over. You can always make them smaller as well too. Like they don't need to be that big right up front. That's usually one of my instant like instincts is to like I really want that face uh, to be right up close. And I'll show you some of the character designs I was kind of like working for with these if I can. Yeah, so here we go. So this dude has like these big, huge honking arms, and that's just like I haven't done any turnarounds of either of them. I just wanted to go simple on these, but you can kind of see like what they're going to be looking like as I go through here. And that's the other person that I'll be drawing is this ice lady. And I got it's like, man, I don't remember what they look like at all. Wrong stack. Yeah. I'll show you. I'll move this over here real quick. Photos. So like what I do is like these are my layouts. So yeah, they're like the storyboards. And they're looking yeah, okay. Just making sure you can see them. So this is like page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I have 9 and 10 here. And really they're very rough storyboards. For the biggest thing that's tough with comics is that like illustration has and storyboards have one focal point in each image. And it's the same with comics, but you also have to read the viewer's eye. So if I zoom in on this one here, the one I'm drawing is like I do it as a Z, like left, right, swoop down, left, right. So it's like we had to go through all of this. It's like a winding road. Yeah, it does look like Doomfist, right? So right now, what I'm drawing on is I'm drawing in Procreate for iPad, and by far, I think it's the best comics drawing app out there, without a shadow of a doubt. It is absolutely just has everything for me. Although I have to start like sharpening my skills and for Photoshop and Illustrator for a different job here soon that they want done in Vector. But I think for comics, it just blows everything out of the water. Every iteration they make for Procreate is just makes it faster, makes it more versatile. Like now you can print, like not print. Now you can paint in 3D shapes. So like they're making it usable for augmented reality. But a couple things that I like about it is like I can, I have tons of different pieces in here. I need to just actually clean this out so I can take up less space on the old iPad here. But it's like, where is it? Like I have full comics inside of this thing here, right? This is like my book about ghosts in Savannah that I just revamped. I'm remastering a bunch of my old books to take back to cons as they start coming back and I start feeling more confident in them. I was like, I did this, what? Oh man, right before the pandemic, we finally got this printed and we did it through Kickstarter. But yeah, I can keep full comics in here. It lets me do everything I really need to do. It also lets me do, like, I downloaded the True Grit texture supply stuff. So, like, my YouTube channel, like, I did the whole background in old school, like, and it takes them until because they're big files. But it's just old school, like, gridded texture, and you can come in and see, like, how gritty and how, like, all these old, like, Ben-Day dots come into play. And it was super fun. I love doing stuff in the old style and also in this, like, brand new, what you call it? Oh, there he is. There's the cat. So I was drawing him the other day. You can draw in photographs. It makes it just super cool. But, like, And there's just so many cool things you can do with Procreate, and I really feel like it's like the artist's tool. Like all this little like splattered texture. So make sure I don't mess that up because I got to print it out. Um, I did this one here recently, and I did like there's so many cool texture brushes inside of it. Yeah, it's just been heckin' cool, I guess, as the kids say. I'll show you the first page of this that I finished inking it. I'm starting to color it, but just being able to do like all this like splattered, rainy texture and make it look like it's really like coming down through this city, but also like using the noise brush here like as an eraser to make it look like the city's glowing during the rain. Um, thank you for the compliments. So yeah, I've been getting a lot more comic gigs. I've just been like nose to the grindstone on all these comics, and it's been like seriously fun. And I'm hoping that my Tuesdays will be my day where I just come out, do live, making some comics, and keep doing this consistently. Because like the rest of my work schedule is a little crazy, but usually having Tuesday off from the old day job has been quite nice. So that's what I'm hoping to stay on here and do that. This is my practice run, just to see what folks would think and if anyone joins. And here we are. I think one of the things you have to be really careful about, like when you're drawing different folks from different ethnicities, is not to exaggerate too much. Like you can exaggerate full on, right? But like it has to be something that you know pays respect and homage to those people. And I feel like I'm getting there at this one here. I just didn't want to be like big, do something gross like big lips and just have it be like goofy, right? I also have some, like I said, I have some good Samoan homies that I don't want to turn me into a chalk outline at any point. So, um, yeah, this is cool. I'm having fun with this. Well, thank you. Appreciate all the compliments and the love. I'm glad you're enjoying this. I have to, at my day job, I have to do quite a bit of performing whenever it's safe again around people, and this is kind of like this part of this was getting me back in the habit of this, but also I'm like, what if I could just do this all day instead? My headphone fell out there, so that's where I'm going here. Because I started a YouTube channel as a hobby, and I was like, man, I dig being on camera and talking about this stuff, and yeah, shoot, yeah, just interacting with folks I had no idea existed. And I'm like, yep, this is cool. I think that'll look good. God knows. We've got two crying cats in the background. Since daylight savings came about, they're like, we need to eat at weird times. I don't know if you know this. I'm like, oh, cool. I think one of the other great things on Procreate is that I can just lay my palm down. I don't have to have a glove or anything. Um, it can help, but at the same time, you don't have to have it, and I like that. This is where it gets tough without like foreshortening to see where this person's arm would be. I think I got it. At the same time, I'm like, well, we'll just figure it out. This comic should be coming out. Like I said, I think the Kickstarter hits in January. So you'll probably see it. Like we're trying to get all the comics done. It's an anthology. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I'm a good friend here. So I have two comics coming out. Like right now, the Headlocked Kickstarter is just finishing up. I think it has like 3 or 4 more days left on that. And this one, we should be seeing. I want to say March or. But I can't say 100% for sure, like when it's actually going to launch. It's supposed to be January. That was my deadline. And so I'm like, you know what? I should just get this done now. And then have the holidays to, I don't know, do nothing but play like old Final Fantasy games. Actually, I got I decided to buy the Grand Theft Auto, the original trilogy, like remastered because it looked really cool. And yeah, we'll see how much work I get. I'm supposed to which one here? Oh, the thumb. Yeah, exactly. So that's where I'm like, I got to like figure out like where the actual thumb will go. I'm just playing her at this point. That's why I'm doing you have a couple of different things with lines like it's like searching lines, right? That's what I'm kind of playing with is like. Yeah, I think this one, like, they'd be small, like these fingers coming over there. So it's tough when you're like, working with big exaggeration and you're like, well, hope this looks good. So, and I mean, I might not even have, I don't know, I might have like extended like ice fingers, right? Because this person's supposed to be like, made of ice and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what I'm making is like a, kind of like coming up with a costume design from what I drew earlier, and then making me like, hey, maybe they'll have like crazy big ice hands, right? We'll see. And I think there's supposed to be a lady, so I'm kind of working around with that. I'm trying to kind of like get like a pseudo like Mr. Freeze meets Ghostbusters costume design, and that's what I remember off the top of my head. As a as an artist, I was like, man, I was like, I'm kind of here and there. I come and go with ideas, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should have thought this through more. But sometimes I just like doing things in the moment, Oh God, GTA! Like Reese wanted me to come play GTA Online with him. I played it for a little bit, and I was like, "This is fun." I remember like I played a lot more Red Dead Redemption 2 online, and I love just like going and holding up trains. I was like, "Oh, this is the most relaxing chaos I've ever played. It's so good." Andrew and I used to play a lot of Overwatch too. That's why I was like, "Oh yeah, Doomfist. I know that guy." I'm gonna block out the spotlights here. And kind of get our protagonist's face. The thing that's kind of tough with like digital drawing like this though is like when you come in close, like your instinct is just like add in all this detail, but like you like zoom out, like there's no point in doing that much detail because you won't see it on a page when it prints. So you kind of just got to be like a little judicious with it when it comes in and be like, yeah, I can still make a good drawing, a good rendering here. At the same time, I don't want to be like, yeah, let me come in, draw a collar, draw all the stitching on it, because I mean, it won't matter, is what it comes down to, unfortunately. But that was like that was my downfall in quite a few books. Was this like, oh shit, I get it printed out and it'd be like, I just wasted a lot of time on that for no good reason. Like, good job, Ding Dong. So you really have to know, like in Procreate, like where you're with your resolution, what the boundaries are. Um, yeah, I play Overwatch just to blow off some steam. Um, every so one, like I played like a quick round today because I was like, I'm just gonna blow off some steam. But I was like, yo, I gotta like, I've this queue of like 3 million games that I've bought over the years. And I'm like, I need to play something else, man. Like Overwatch is nice because it's a quick in and out. Like I can play a quick round before I go to work or something. But like, yo, it just get long in the tooth, as they say where I'm from. All right, boop, boop, boop. Come on now, there we are. Forgot the ref's collar. So I'd probably like add some more detail with the ref's hair right over here, but like everything else in those backgrounds, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna go too hard with it. I might do like like some windows here and there because it technically is a warehouse. So it's like I can come in and do some very faint windows and have them just slightly there, just to give it a little more sense of like background, right? But I feel like I did so much background on that darn on that stinking uh, city that I'm a little background out. Yeah, yeah, like I'll always advocate for this pencil. It's the fastest one out there, but also like just the lightness and hard. Like the pencil sensitivity is great, but you can also like put it on its side and shade as well too. So I can also double tap and go from like eraser to pencil. It is extremely versatile. I've had this same one since 2018, I want to say, and like I'd still at like full strength battery. Like I can't. I've left it off my iPad for 2 days and still at like 89% battery power. And I was like, shoot, man. I bought this iPad in May, I want to say, and it transferred over perfectly. All I have to do is like unscrew this to change out the nibs, and they're like $20, I think, for the 4 pack. Um, but yeah, it's a fantastic tool. You can also get some like grips for them, but I've never been one to use grips. Some people do. It's not my groove. So here's a tough part panel. Here's like this overhead one where she's supposed to be freezing his arm. So this is where I'm gonna like make the inset panel. And you can, what's nice is you can hold, like draw a circle and hold it down, and it just turns right into a smooth circle. And I can use one finger tap. So like if I want to draw a straight line, I can do that, but I can also hold one finger down and do it like 30, 60, 90 degrees, just like I was doing for these panel borders. Yeah, it's awesome. So you'll notice I haven't drawn the first panel yet. Yeah, and I was like, well, we'll come back to that elephant later. Usually I try to draw the most difficult panel first, so the rest of the page is smooth sailing. But I was like, you know what? I'll just start off one that shows my drawing style tonight. Let's see. Yeah, with grips, I can't stand them. I don't know. Like I just want the actual device itself, and that's a me quirk. You know what I mean? Um, so I never really advocate for them, but I also just don't ever want to like tear anyone's groove down when they're just like, yes, I love these. I'm like, cool, use them. I just hate them. So whatever. We can all live together. And I love making big, exaggerated eyebrows. Um, yeah, that's my groove. That's how you'll always be able to tell like my style. So I'll just do these big, crazy eyebrows. And I like them going through like stuff like hats and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Let's do that. Gonna give her hair like a spiky, like ice groove, kind of like the crazy spiky Iceman from Game of Thrones. I'm sure that's his name, Crazy Spiky Iceman. But I want to have like this cool, like yeah, ice demoness kind of thing here with like with blue mist coming out of her eyes and just being a generally hellish person. Let's see. Nice. So this requires like this overhead shot might require some more like perspective to it. You know the funny thing about like going to like yeah, like I couldn't do Cintiq, and I had a tough time doing Wacom. It just felt unnatural. So like having it all in one place for me was the absolute only way to go with it. Yeah, I agree. So one other thing I really dig about Procreate, if I hit the wrench up here, I feel like I'm advertising Procreate all the time in my life, but it's really just the best tools like Canvas, drawing guide, and I can add a perspective grid here, and yeah, so I'm gonna like put 2 points out and a third point down, somewhere around here, I think. We'll see. We'll see. Um, no, I don't want to do it there. It's tough because it's like, yeah, here's where I want to put it. It's really tough with doing a third point perspective because it's like, oh yeah, overhead view. This will be cheese, and then you're like, oh, dude, this was dumb. This is you just gave yourself all this hard work, but when you can really pull it off, yeah, it's awesome. Hey man, yeah, thanks for stopping in. Nice chatting with you. I'm gonna keep this going, yeah, for a few more minutes. I'm having fun. Oop. Oh, perspective. Why did I pick you? So you kind of have to draw like in shapes and hope that it comes out all right with perspective. Like it's just going down slower and like add, I wanted him to be like bigger here, and I think I got the right one. Um, but I wanted her to, be following the actual trend and make it look like it's okay. Yes, we have the right perspective going on, which is like it's insanely difficult. I'm not gonna lie, because I already have to move this out a little bit. But you can't do things without perspective. Like you can't fake perspective per se. Um, it's just incredibly difficult, I think, and to make it look like it's like, oh yeah, no, this is totally what this should look like, and it's not. You can just tell when someone totally like fakes it. And now that I've been doing it like this, I was like, oh yeah, the foreshortening makes more sense, and the faces make more sense. And really, that's really all I needed to do here. It was just like, okay, I might make them a little bit bigger as I go through. I was like, I just needed to get that gall darn perspective down right. Um, yeah, that's a little bit better. Nice. And so, like, I really just wanted to make sure that I got like the chairs in perspective correctly. Um, that they're going to be using. I have to make this all a little bit more futuristic as well. So I might curve around these. Come around and curve around as well too. Yeah, and I'll tell you, like, dude, like the perspective is the hardest part of drawing. Um, it's the best part when you learn it and you understand it. You're like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. It does. Understanding it, I think, is like 3/4 of the battle, and then actually like doing it is that last fourth. Just because it's hard to get your head around that space, but also it's kind of like a Pandora's box. Like you'll never see the world the same after you do learn and do perspective. So, like I said, it's great, but it's also like, oh man, I don't see the world like I used to anymore, and this is weird. Yeah, thanks again for joining me on this. I was just like, I have no idea if anyone's going to be into this or not. But having a little stranger here was pretty fun. Yeah, yeah, perspective's always going to mess with your head, no matter how well you get the groove into it. You're like, oh, this looks like it's. I feel like you have to draw like 100,000 things before you get perspective even close to like correct. But then I just look at all these other artists, like it's just like there are some that do it like extremely, extremely well, and you get like jealous, and like, oh, dumbass. And then there's some that just say screw it, and you're like, yeah, I don't want to be like that either. So it's kind of a two-edged sword, honestly. Although I'm having fun with it in this one, like I don't really have to do. I think I like psyched myself out on this one, honestly, because like I thought the arm wrestling part would be the hardest part to draw, but it's not. Nice. Did you did you go over and do the schedule planner or not schedule planner, the ROP, is it ROP role, or did you switch to something else in store, or did you quit altogether? I'm drinking 30 gallons of stuff here. Okay. Ah, that's nice. I Yeah, I'm jealous. I think Rousseau Brett he went from our store went off for that. I think so did Treasure as well too. Um, that's awesome. I'm glad that this is like that it's working out well for you. Is it? If it is, I should say. Wild. Yeah, I've heard people it's like we've gotten a lot of people transferred in, and they're like, "Wow, it's weird. It's kind of like it's kind of chill, and we don't know how to deal with this." Like mostly East Coasters will say that. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. There's still a lot of problems. Oh, nice, cool. I know. I think Brett's on his way down to Austin, and I think Treasure's working remotely. I haven't talked to her at all, unfortunately. I was thinking I should reach out and say hi. Be like, "How is it going?" Might rework this. Sometimes that double tap does not like to work. I'm trying to figure out how to make a a table like this look futuristic. I was like, I don't know. I'll make it look like Pac-Man or something. Like I always just say, I was like, I'll figure it out in the inks. Well, that's nice. Like, are you are you booking a store local to you, or is it across country? Like, what's it look like? Give him some shadows here. Should draw his hair. Make sure we know what we're looking at. His arm is going to be frosted over, so I think I am going to give her big, crazy, like, claws. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Something just like, I don't know, like Metal Gear Solid looking with, like some panels and some wires and some neat, like, sci fi shit. Maybe with some antennas coming out, floating arm wrestling chair. It's funny though, like as I know, I realize as I go along, like I'm doing a page less. I put less and less detail into it as I'm going because I'm like, yeah, I just want the ink brush to do like all this heavy lifting. So it seems like scribbles, and then there's some times where I'm like, man, no, I need to really like draw this out and make it feel good. Um, I don't know, it's just funny how you make comic pages. Oh wow, damn, that's cool, man. That's really cool. New York City, yeah, that's a big deal, dude. Like that's a big important market. Shit, dude, I'm impressed. Congratulations. I'm always afraid of like doing these streams like with my face on camera when I'm drawing because I'm always just like I'm literally making this face right now, so I look like a total goofball. I'm like I should shut my curtains as well. Um, Yeah, right. You're like, man. Um, yeah, I don't know if you can do like dual like video. I need to research this a little bit more because I was like, I always like doing an in like not an introduction, like I do with my YouTube. Be like, hey, this is who I am, and like same thing with like TikToks, right? Um, but on this, I was like, I'm just gonna start this off with me drawing. Let's see what it looks like. I'm glad they have a specific like streaming index for artists. I just got to set this up to be consistent from now on. And that's what I don't know about. It's like no dialogue on this page at all. It's so awesome. I say it's awesome because I don't have to like plan around for it. I can just like let the drawings do all the work and be like, yeah, that's how it looks. I got to figure out dinner as well too tonight. Exciting times of the artist. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I just want their, that's the nice thing about comics is like, oh, just let the page say everything. And like, they're like, looking right at each other right there, and it's like he's like, ugh. um, yeah, this is fun. This is a fun page. I'm glad I chose this one to do. Just gotta remember all like the hairstyles I chose. I know my boys will be happy to have some representation in in this comic. They always like, you gotta get you gotta get the Hawaiian in there, brother. Why you don't ever draw no Hawaiian? I'm like, dude, all right, point. Let's do it. I also like, man, I gotta like shop. I got the, I'll show you. I got Illustrator and Photoshop on here because in the next few weeks I'm going to be interviewing for a career experience, and they want me to do. They wanted me to interview for a design position for Today at Apple. So I'm pretty stoked on that one. But I'm like, ooh, I don't really remember Illustrator all that well. So that's what my this next week is going to take on. Going to take on and try to do like 5 projects in Illustrator to have a nice portfolio outside of all the other stuff I do. I'm like, yeah, I'm a pretty damn good illustrator. I know my placement very well. Um, it's just one of those things where it's like, yo, I gotta beef up them skills. Dude, yeah, I will absolutely take you up on all that streaming help because I was like, I've gotten my YouTube groove down on like what I want to do for those videos. It took a while, but like there was learning curve there, and I think I'm gonna change my day where I post those to Thursdays. I'd like to be like Tuesdays Twitch, Thursdays YouTube, and then like also taking these drawing sessions and putting them up on YouTube as well. I'll have 2 channels: my art channel and my toy channel. Um, oh, thank you. Yeah, you gotta have representation. It's like all that stuff that we went through this last couple years, and even before that, growing up down south, I was like, you can't let that stuff go by. And I think it's important. All right, what time we got? 17 after. I'm gonna close up shop at 5:30 so I can fix up dinner. I guess I don't know. It's a day off. Yeah, that's what I keep seeing from like some of the different gamers too. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we just did this Twitch stream on, and then we talked about like I see it more so like on World of Warcraft, and I think I don't know if you were here for when you definitely were not here. You might have been in Boulder with Ryan. She was a genius at 29th Street up in Boulder. Um, she transferred from Cherry Creek up there last year. So maybe you were around? I can't remember. No, I don't think you were. Sorry. I was like, I can't remember anything these days. But she does that. And I was like, dude, that's cool. Like I should be doing this. That's not a difficult thing to do, is to export. Gotcha. Yeah, she's cool. She was definitely low key crazy, um, but I love her to death. And um, man, when she first came into Creek, boy, she made a very loud impression. And I was like, Ryan, chill. You ain't got to be Florida girl all day. Like these people in Colorado have never experienced Florida girl. They don't know what that life is like. And she was like, well, I'm going to show them. Like, yeah, you could, or you could not, and we could all just chill and have drinks. And she's like, okay. It was basically like a 5 month conversation. There we go. He's not worried about this. I think the toughest part of drawing like anyone Asian is getting those eyes just right to where they don't look like a yeah, just a racist trope, right? Like it's like they're still all about like the curve there, but they're not like yeah, you don't want to exaggerate that kind of way. And I feel like I'm getting pretty good with this. And it's all from I don't know how there's so little representation in comics. I feel like that you just don't see like artists like jumping in to represent like Samoans and people of like other different peoples of color. It's like what the hell, man. And it's just yeah, it's difficult, but it's like man, I was reading an X-Men comic on Comixology from the last few years, and I was just like, yeah, that Storm looks like a blonde white lady, like who got her face painted. Like this is really bad. I was like, who let this through? And the artist was like, oh, I'm sorry, I just. And I was like, you're an artist, man. Like, fuck, have some like do your job and draw people the way they should look if they're a person of color. Like, this isn't hard. Make those eyes a little bit bigger. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. Man, this page is coming out great. I might actually finish this on time. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just, I'm just tired of comic artists not drawing from observation. Is really what it, and where the technique comes down to, and like you guys should do this. Like this is not. I find it as a challenge. I don't find it to be one that's not worth picking up. And it's like y'all like. I think it's weird because it really started with like pants. If I can like go off on a weird tangent, I used to hate when artists would draw like Wolverine wearing slacks, but you could still see his like like baggy slacks, and you could still like see his quadriceps and his knees. And I was like, why? Like you would never see that in baggy slacks. And so that's where I was like, my drawing from observation knack came in. And then it's like, as the world is, you know, changing for the better for representation, it's like, dude, we should apply these to people. So it's just like, yeah, you don't know how pants work. How are you going to know how like people work? Like, Storm, there's token characters, and thankfully it's gotten better with not having token characters. But I was just like, yeah, these comic dudes still throw a fit when like they're like, you know what? We're gonna make Deadpool like black or something under the mask, or Spider-Man or something like that. I'm like, cool, do it, awesome. And then they're like, no, make it a new character, and then they do, and they don't buy it. And I'm like, yeah, that's why they didn't make it a new character, dumbass. Ugh, my instinct is to just start inking, but I'm like, I gotta finish two very wham bam panels. Whoa, photos just decided not to do anything. Did you see that? All right. So this is where I'll change perspective. So the horizon is going to be like way below them. I'm not sure. Okay, there it is. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to move all these over to like darker colors so I can see my grid. Not sure if that's right, but we're going to try it out. Yeah, absolutely. My friend Josh just wrote the Queer Captain America book that came out, and I was like, man, dude, good for you, dude. That is so cool. And people threw a whole fucking fit about it. I was like, yeah, y'all, this has always been here. It's just that it's getting better representation, and you're like, nobody cares that you're butthurt about it. Super don't care. Oh, I gotta edit this drawing guide. Nope, not that one, I don't think. There's the one. Yep. We gotta do it like this. There we go. Perspective, breaking brains forever. Yeah, this grid. This is a ball breaker. I'm not gonna lie. So 3 point perspective is the most difficult of the perspectives because like not only do you have like hey like 1 point over here, 1 point over here, but all the way up top too, because you have to get that that exaggeration going down, and like if you don't do it right, like again, people are going to tell like, oh, okay, like this is pretty extreme perspective, honestly, but damn, it's going to make a cool looking panel. And so you can see like following that perspective guide has already made it look like, oh, okay, like it's going towards the right place is the nice part. And their arm is too long. That's okay. It's all right. And really the arm should be coming out a little bit further this way because this kiddo is not very tall. This is where you can see like, oh, it's so much easier to like create a body like in exaggeration with perspective. Like I don't have to guess. Like it's there and it knows, and it's like, yep, you got it right. And I was like, sweet, okay, that feels good. And also, I think one thing that's kind of cool is that that's when I can start putting like details of the warehouse in here, and it'll automatically look like it should. I put a big spotlight over here, right? And it'd be like, hey, this is where the spotlight light should come from. And then I can put like all these like those warehouse windows over here. And be like, oh, cool. Got the. You kind of have to get a little. Like this is such an extreme exaggeration, but it works out really well when you have a grid like that. And you're like, oh, cool. I got everything right. And then you pull out and you be like, hey, I messed this line up. Let's stick with the exaggeration I should be having. There you go. And it's like, oh, okay. This guy knows how to make comics. Like it's a weird thing, but I was like, man, it took me forever to like wrap my head around it, So one thing that's nice too is like if you ever use like if you tap here, you can also do the drawing assists, and it won't let you draw anything outside of the perspective grid. Like it will like you have to draw at this grid, and you're like, oh, okay. Um, Thanks for telling me, pal. But it just makes it so much easier to do things that are not like, oh, okay, cool. I'll probably do that when I ink this, but it's definitely like if I want to start drawing their head, there's no way. So that's where you kind of have to like still no perspective to gain the upper hand on this. Yeah, so it's still a little, but sometimes you just can't see like these tiny lines back here. Like I need to zoom in to find them, and I was like, yeah, but is it worth it to like zoom in and find these tiny lines? Yeah, totally. At the same time, it's like, oh, look at this mess I made, and I have to try to erase it. It won't let me erase it unless I'm on the stupid line. So drawing assist is awesome. Drawing assist also a pain in the ass. All right, what the hell time is it? All right, cool. Well, dude, I'm gonna end this and get me some food. Thank you for dropping in, Dan. Although we weren't talking like live, face to face or nothing. Yeah, nice to hear. Nice to hear from you and have some support. Rock and roll. Thanks, buddy. I have no idea. Oh yeah, there were end.